All right, let's do this. Let's go live. All right, in three, two, one. Hello, my friends, and welcome once again to the Game Changers podcast, brought to you by Damascus Gaming, hosted by me, Dan Teske, and Luis Ballester. We are excited to be bringing on Deja, or Randy. He is part of Army Esports and has also joined Damascus Gaming as part of our stream team. He's been doing Army Esports for a while, and we really just wanted to kind of sit down and talk about his evolution as a gamer and also as a soldier over the past, how many years now, Deja, have you been doing this?
I would say I've been a part of the Army Esports team for about 6 years now. I was around when they originally started in 2018, so I kind of seen the growth and the progression of where Army Esports has gone and how the other branches have also jumped on board and also been using esports as a recruiting tool for the military.
Yeah,
Nice. Is that 6 years in Army Esports and how many years in total?
In the military, I've been in 19 years.
almost
Wow.
there. Almost there.
Almost
20
there.
years to
Almost there.
retirement.
Nah, I gotta
Let's
do.
go.
I'm about to get promoted. I gotta do 3 more.
Oh boy. That's how it works,
I
by the
do
way.
at least to 22, and then if everything's stable at 22, then I might retire. If not, I can stretch it to 24.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
most people have to make a decision on whether to buy two and get one free. You have to make the decision on whether to contract 2 years of your life or get three in order to get a promotion. There you go.
Yeah,
100.
basically.
Oh, dude, that is awesome though. But anyway, I want to kind of go back to um the younger Deja, like pre-military. So obviously, like I think everybody here, like we've all been gamers for a very, very long time. So walk me back, like what got you into gaming, and what games were you playing when you first started off?
So as a kid growing up, I was more of an outdoors person. I played a lot of sports. I was always playing baseball, soccer, basketball, football. Uh, when the first Game Boy came out, that was like the first system my parents ever got me. I would play Mario. There was a time that I did get angry and I smashed it across my head. I died. A little rage quit right there. I told the parents, hey, like it fell on the floor. I didn't tell them that I actually raged.
It was
At
a dog.
first, a first test of what raging consisted of. But I wasn't really gaming all the time. It was just when I was traveling from station to station, or if I was in Puerto Rico. That was my last duty station before I joined the military myself. My mother joined the military, so I consider myself a military brat.
Yeah.
My mom joined when I was 5 years old, and I got to explore. She got stationed in Germany for 3 years. Then she got stationed in Italy for 4 years, and then from there we came here to El Paso. I went to seventh and eighth grade here in El Paso as a middle school kid. Gaming wasn't around back then, or at least it wasn't brought to my attention. And then I went back to PR. I did freshman through senior year, and then I joined the military there. Towards junior and senior year, I did start doing gaming with my friends. They showed me Halo 2 at the time, was what was popping on the Xbox.
Let's
So I
go.
used to play that a lot with them. We would go to the school. My best friend, his father was the owner of the school, so we set up in the auditorium and kind of like connected all the Xboxes together, and we were playing Halo against each other in custom matches and stuff like that. So that's kind of where the excitement started to come in. But then when I joined the military, basic training, AIT, and then just the ball rolling, I really didn't have time to sit down.
Yep.
I really didn't get into competitive gaming until I went on my first deployment. I went to Jalalabad in Afghanistan for my first
Okay.
deployment. And out there, the MWR had PlayStations and they had Xboxes. They started doing tournaments and stuff, and that's when I kind of gradually started going back. Like, oh, I remember in high school when I used to play, and now Halo 3 was out by then,
Yep.
so they were doing Halo 3 tournaments, and I was winning them, and I was having a good time. And to me, it was a great tool to kind of forget where I was at. I was in a deployment zone. Uh, Back then, when I went in '09, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't kind of like now where there's not a lot of stuff going on. We did lose people and stuff like that. So that was my way of getting out of where I was at war and kind of being into the game and being able to relax and play with my friends. When that deployment fit, you had a question?
No, I just think that that's just a recurring theme I keep seeing with gaming. It's an escape for a lot of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
regardless of your
Yeah.
circumstances. And it's incredible how it can still affect you, even though you're surrounded by actual warfare,
Yeah.
and yet you're playing Halo and other fighting and shooting games that actually remove you from your current predicament, right? So I think that's really cool. But go ahead.
Yeah, it was a great a gateway, I would say, in the sense I know that. So when I left in that deployment, we were where were we at? We stopped somewhere. I want to say it was in Russia. As we were transitioning, that MWR over there had Modern Warfare 2 had dropped. And that's when I first got a taste of what Call of Duty consisted of, and I enjoyed the gameplay. I got back to Campbell, and I ended up PCSing to Hawaii, and in Hawaii, Modern Warfare 3 came out. I wasn't really as consistent because I was in Hawaii. Like I
Yeah.
was out all the time. I was at the beach. I was diving. I was snorkeling.
Who can
I'm
blame
that
you?
guy that did everything. So here and there, I would be in and play, but those are the rare occasion. It wasn't until I deployed again that I went to Kandahar in Afghanistan. So I went on my second deployment, 1 year deployment, and then over there I got back into gaming. Modern Warfare 3 tournaments were going like crazy over there, and I was always there playing, and I was winning them, and I was having a good time. And over there, like that's when Call of Duty really, I found the love for Call of Duty because it's just yes, it's a combat zone orientated game, but if my battle dies, he's died. He comes back to life in the
Yeah.
game,
Yep.
and it kept us being competitive, but it kept us our minds insane. And that whole year, you doing the same thing over and over. You need that small break that takes you out of doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
So that was my gateway. I came back, and that's when I ended up meeting my ex-wife. I got married, and then that it comes down to now I don't go out no more. I have a kid on the way. She had already had a kid. So now I'm staying indoors, and it's like, what can I do indoors that I love to do? And that's where gaming came in. And it was like, okay, I can game. I'm not getting in trouble. I'm not talking to females. I'm not doing anything I'm supposed to do. I'm just here enjoying the game. And around that time is when Modern Warfare, no, it was which one? Oh, World War II was out.
Yep.
And that's when I started playing competitive through Major League
Okay.
Gaming. I started doing dual teams and quad teams. Back then, I was part of another organization. They were, I forgot the name. I know I have a jersey somewhere. But I played for them for a while. And then that's when I started streaming because we were winning our games.
Yeah.
We were doing really good. And people were just like, well, we want to see you play. And I was like, well, how do you see my screen? I don't know how to do that. They're like, you can stream it on Twitch. And I was like, okay. So I looked into it,
Yep.
and then I went and, made an account and started streaming on Twitch, and they were able to see our gameplay and stuff like that. And that's how I started streaming a little bit more, talking on the mic, conversing because I was shy. Prior to
Yeah.
joining the military, I was a very shy student in school. It's very difficult for me to express myself or talk to other people. And the same thing when it came to talking to women, I had troubles back then too. But then the Army changed me somewhat. And then when I started streaming online, I started getting better at it. And then, yeah, from there, I started competing. And then after a while, it kind of died out a little bit. And then uh, 2019 is when the Army announced that they were going to make an esports team, and I was like, man, I really want to try. I was like, I haven't played competitive in a while, but they were doing streaming. They were looking for people that would do the Facebook stream team on their Facebook stream, and they also had Twitch. At the time, I had transitioned over to Facebook, and my main game that I played was Fortnite. I lived and breathed Fortnite. Season 3 was when I started back in the day, and then I played it for a while consistently. And then throughout time and waiting, I made the stream team. I met one of their content creators for the Army. She was a master sergeant as a musician for the Army. So all she did was sing for the Army. And then when she was off, she would do cosplay. And her thing was, which I thought was pretty neat, was that she would make her cosplays the characters from Fortnite, and that's how she would stream. So whatever character she chose, that's what the character she was on stream, and that's what she dressed like. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I was like, started watching her, and then she started talking about the Army Esports, looking for stream team people. And then she started hosting custom tournaments because she got the keys to it. And I was like, well, let me play in these tournaments and see how I do. And I started winning these tournaments like back to back to back. So my name got recognized a lot. And then she reached out. She was like, are you in the military? I was like, yes, I am. She's like, do you stream? I was like, yeah, from time to time. She was like, we're looking for people for our stream team. And she picked about 6 people to join. And then COVID hit. And then COVID kind of messed things up, and then I ended up getting sent to Honduras for a year. So I was in Honduras for a year waiting to find out if I was going to make it. And a lot of the people that were waiting to get slots, they kind of got tired of waiting and they all left. And then out of nowhere, I got a message saying, hey, Stone Mountain is coming on this Saturday. We need someone to come play. It's not Fortnite. it's Warzone. And I was like, what the hell is Warzone? I was like, I will figure it out. And then I took a week of getting Warzone, playing it. I was like, all right, I got it. Let's do it. And then I was the only one left, so they were like, bang, here you go. So I got to play with Stone Mountain. That was my first experience with a top known streamer. I've
Nice.
watched him before, so I thought it was pretty
Yep.
cool. It sucked a little bit because I was in Honduras, so the latency and stuff kind of sucked. And I was like, damn, wish I was back home where the internet was good, but I'll do what I can here. And then from there, I enjoyed playing Warzone. From there, I stuck to it. I played Warzone, kept playing it. And then after a while, the streaming kind of went down because of the comments and things. It just sucks that we live in a society where they see military people streaming and doing stuff like that. They want to comment inappropriate things on the streams, and then we can't respond to it. We have to keep our composure, even though the things they say kind of suck. And when they saw that it kept happening, they decided to just shut the program down for streaming for a bit. It might be coming back. I don't know. We'll see. And then I kind of just got left. They're a part of the team, but not a part of anyone.
Yeah. Okay.
And then 2 years ago, Cold Bowl came up, and they were like, "Hey, the Warzone team dissolved. We only have 3 players. We're gonna do tryouts for the 4th player." And I was like, "Well, I've been playing Warzone." I was like, I reached out to them because I saw that. I was like, "Hey, I would love an opportunity to go to Cold Bowl and represent the team." And then they reached back out to me like, "We're gonna have you do tryouts." There was another person interested, and me and him went 1v1s basically with our partner to see how we did with communication, shooting, kills, and stuff like that. And I ended up winning, and I got to go to Cold Bowl, and then ever since then, I've been part of the Warzone team.
Love it.
Goes to show life keeps throwing you curveballs, but you know what? As long as you seize the moment, go after those opportunities. Don't wait for them to knock on your door. You can get it. You can get that opportunity. You can lock it in, and that's what you've done here.
Yeah.
So.
There's
Thank you.
also quite a bit to unpack too, because I kind of want to jump back too, because there's a lot of similarities, and I think it's interesting because I spent 9 years in the military, which everyone watching, by the way, they might hear 9 years is a long time. 19 years is a lot longer. I did not serve that long, but I was a super shy kid when I was growing up as well. But I always really enjoyed gaming, so I think I was more of the inside, love to play games. And one thing that I found very, very quickly joining the military, it's really a bunch of nerds that like to blow stuff up. That's really I think a good I would say profile for a lot of people that join. I think it's funny because when I got in, I was expecting it to be a bunch of studs, and it was a bunch of guys that love to play video games. And that's really been, I think, a big key. And I think one thing that I find interesting too is that all the guys that deployed really like to play Call of Duty and Halo. I hear that as a consistent tune throughout all the deployments, which I think would surprise a lot of people, because you would think oh, hey, I'm seeing this every day in real life, I want to kind of pull back and do something else. But being able to sit there and play with your friends and have a good time, not worry about it because your buddies just, like you said, keep coming back, so it's a way to kind of escape. But I do also want to talk a little bit about the other DoD esport programs, because I think as well, if there's anybody in the military that's watching this right now, the way that I found out about the military having esports was actually through the Army Esports team. So I was listening to a podcast, and they had brought up there was actually another streamer, Stratnium. He was a special forces guy who was on the esports team, and that's how I found out about it. But I didn't even realize that the other DoD components actually had their own esport elements, because I was in the Air Force at the time. So when you go to Code Bowl, because we talked about actually this, I think it was yesterday, even the British has their own Army Esports component. So when you go to the Code Bowl, who all is competing in that? Is it just DoD, or is it worldwide, other foreign armies also bring their esport components out as well?
So for us right now, we have our basic, they just added the Space Force has a team now, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, Navy, and us have a team. And then when it comes to across the sea, they have the Navy Royal, and they have the Royal Air Force, and then Canada last year just jumped on board as well.
Nice.
And that's kind of where it's at right now. It hasn't reached anywhere else and stuff like that.
I would be careful with that Space Force. They're gonna start hacking some of that internet service.
You know what? I'm not
Careful.
even. I know last year's Code Bowl we were in LA. They switched it up on us because So the first time that I got to go to Cold Boy was in North Carolina, and they did it for a major. So CDL was going on; they had a major going on as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of our guys got to see, people they look up to, Scumpy, people from all teams that they've seen growing up, and then we were kind of like the side highlight of, hey, this Cold Bowl is going on. Last year in LA, they switched it up, and they were like, they're trying to line it up with the release of the new games.
Yeah.
So Warzone 2 was getting dropped out, Modern Warfare 3. So they had the release of that in LA. We got to go over there. They had a setup, LA is where they film Hollywood movies and stuff like that. So the setup was like the game, like it had camouflage, it had trucks blown up and stuff in this area, the colors, the red,
That's
it's
awesome.
like it was amazing. I know there's zombie games on there, and there's like a soda machine zombie in the zombie game. They had replicas. They had 3 replicas of
Oh, that's
those
dope.
machines, and you could click it, and then energy drinks would come out. Monster was there, and Liquid Death was there as well. So those drinks would come out, and you were able
That's
to drink
awesome.
them and stuff like that. I wish we would have got to play at the release, because basically what they did was they reached out to a bunch of content creators. They brought them in, and then they had us come in. So
Yeah.
first day was the content creators trying out the new game, saying how they liked it, streaming it, getting it out there. Then the second day was us competing with some of those content creators / pros, and then that was it. But it was amazing. The hotel was great. LA from the last time I went has gone down a little bit. I know it's expensive, but
Yeah.
the streets were kind of dirty and stuff like that. And now this year, we're going to be going to DC for this year's Call Bowl, and it's for the release of Black Ops 6. So we'll
That's gonna be
see
interesting.
how that's going to go. I have an insider over there who was prior service. I won't say his name, but he's out there doing his little kind of working group with them and learning how
Yeah.
things run for Activision and stuff. And he says it's going to be the best one so far. So I'm excited to
Really?
go and see how that's going to look. And, but this time I'm not going as a player, I'm going as a manager. Our 2 managers, one deployed, another one had personal issues to take care of, and then they asked me to step up. So I stepped up as the manager, kind of been running stuff with the guys and trying to get them to go to places and stuff which is fine. I was like, as long as I can go to Copel and just see what's going on and be there with you guys, I'm down with it. So
Yeah.
it's
That's
been a good
awesome.
time.
So I mean that kind of leads into it too. I guess I want to kind of ask a little bit about the evolution of Call of Duty. So I've never been, I would say, like a super hardcore Call of Duty fan. I probably played the most between Call of Duty 4 and Black Ops 2. That swath of time right there. I think
Yeah.
Modern Warfare 2 I probably put the most time into, like the OG back in 08.
I was never a fan of the jetpacks and
Yeah,
running
no,
across the
it
wall.
wasn't my thing. Yeah,
I was like, it was like or Advanced Warfare.
yeah,
Excuse me, I didn't really like that. I was just like, and then in
Too much
space,
mobility.
space station that you can fight in as well. I was
yeah.
like, this is
Well, I mean,
crazy.
the jump packs really hit. I mean, I remember when I was working at GameStop at the time, Titanfall was hitting shelves
Yeah.
because the team from Infinity Ward that had brought out Modern Warfare 2, they got slighted, and so they stepped back and made a company Respawn that launched Titanfall, and the game was a smash success, and so Call of Duty immediately was like, we have to have a response to this. So wall running and jetpacks were like the next thing to hit the shelves in their
The
games.
exosuits. Yeah.
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 So I mean, since you've been playing Army Esports, so like every time a new iteration comes out, like is it a hard transition for you to kind of get into like the new movement tech? Because I know from like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like the reboot to Modern Warfare 2, like there was a massive
Yeah.
movement tech shift.
And map
Uh,
change.
Yeah.
So the map changes. So I know when I transitioned from the first Warzone. So if we go back in time, we go to
Yeah.
it's always been CDL. Then they saw Fortnite do big map, right? And then Warzone was like, well, we need to hop on that. And what did
Yeah.
they come out with? They came out with Blackout.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of Blackout. Just I felt like when I played CDL style, I moved better. I was faster than Blackout. It was kind of choppy. I didn't move that well, so I kind of drifted away from
Yeah.
Blackout. Warzone came out. I got used to that movement, and then things were a lot better. But I was more of a rebirth than big map guy.
Yeah.
And then they transitioned to Warzone 2, where they're at now. And then that same thing, after a while, I would say 2 to 3 weeks after just playing it, and they do it the best way possible because when they release a new game, it's just multiplayer at first. So what do we do as Warzone players? We grind multiplayer because we want to unlock all the weapons, unlock all the attachments for whenever Warzone gets released. So then that gives us the opportunity to get used to the movement, the weapons, and what's going to look like. And then once Warzone's released, we have everything unlocked. And then from there, we go into, okay, what are the meta guns are going to be? And then I know for me, I like watching pro players play, and then from there that's where I get my loadouts. I look at what guns they use, and then for me to get better at the game and better my craft, I look at how they move, how they communicate, how they talk, where they land at, and how they avoid fights that they know they're not going to win, or how they take fights that they know they're going to win. And I'm more of a studier compared to the other guys. Some of these other guys are very young. They are afforded the opportunity that when they're off of work, they get to play for 8, 9 hours.
Yep.
Fortunately, I'm a single parent. I got 2 kids I got to take care of. So once they're taken care of, that's when I'm able to get on. And I'll get my 2 to 3 hours in, so I can play catch up with the younger guys because I'm currently the oldest guy on the team right now. So
Yeah, you gotta work smarter and not harder. You gotta
yeah,
figure out what works and what doesn't real quick to maximize those 3 hours that you got in the day.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that you can make it happen with even just 3 hours because now you manage an esports team for the U.S. Army, and
yeah,
that's no small feat.
No, it's definitely not. Actually, and two, if you go back and listen to Gambler's podcast, we just had him on this past week. Even he was talking about it. Like he doesn't spend all of his time playing, even though he has that kind of time. He spends a lot of time actually doing VOD review, watching different
Hmm.
people play. Like he's actually putting in the work to do the
yeah,
homework. I would actually argue, from the perspective of doing your homework, watching VOD review will actually set you up better than just sitting in front of a computer playing for 8,
Oh
9,
yeah.
10 hours a day. While that does help because you have to get the reps in it, and we all know that in anything in life you have to get the reps in. If you want to be good at something, you have to just get in there and get your hands dirty. But I think there's also a
You gotta
disadvantage to
study.
only doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only enough times you can bang your head against the wall and expect a different result. Either your head's gonna crack or the wall will break. And I promise you, in the world of esports, the wall that esports has up is pretty sturdy. And if you want to crack that wall, you gotta learn where the cracks are. And the
Yep.
only way you do that is by studying theory and by watching VOD and doing everything that Deja just said.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
We have our guys doing that as well. They watch each other's VOD
that's good.
reviews. At one point, when I was having them volunteer, because I tell them it's a privilege to be on the team,
Yep.
but at the same time, we need to expand because the plan, the whole esports thing for the Army is a recruiting tool,
Yep.
is to reach those kids that are at home and don't really go out to events where they can find a recruiter or see a recruiter station or whatever the case may be. Now they're being reached out. So if you didn't know, the Army partner with CMG is Checkmate Gaming. They do online tournaments,
Yeah.
and on Twitter they're posting all the time like, "Hey, enter to get $100 gift card. This tournament's going on. You put your info in, and now you have a recruiter calling you saying, "Hey, you entered this tournament.
Yep.
Just wanted to see if you were interested in the military at all." And they use these tournaments and stuff like that as a recruiting tool,
Yep.
which I think is smart because yeah, there are a lot of people I play online with that talk all this smack, and it's like, oh yeah, well I'm in the military. Why don't you come do this game for real life and see how long it lasts? To kind of get them fired up and stuff like
Yep.
that.
You think you're a good sniper in Halo? Let's see if you can put that skill to real
Yep.
life.
No, 100%. I mean, we definitely always talk smack too. Like, it's just a good time. I do kind of want to segue a little bit though too. So obviously, Damascus Gaming, we're on the civilian side of the house. Like we're running a professional esports organization strictly as that. So when it comes to us putting teams together, picking players, we obviously have the final say. Like we'll sit down with the players and we'll have talks with them and whatnot. But I'm kind of curious when it comes to the Army putting together an esports roster. How much of a say do the players have on the team for who they're playing with, and who at the end of the day is really like responsible for who gets put on which rosters, and if they're moved around, like if they're like kind of moved off the teams, like how does that work at the end of the day for Army Esports?
So each genre of game is different. I know for us, for Warzone, the way me and Steve Owale, which is the other manager, we get applications put in, we review the applications. Uh, it helps that I'm also a player because I know what I want to look for in a
Yeah,
teammate. So for us, we look at, for example, they have ranked play, which is a game mode you can play on Warzone. If you're really that good, you'll be top 250 in the world, and we keep it like, hey, Crim 3 iridescent is what we're looking for, but if
yeah,
you surpass and go to top 50, that's someone we want. We also look for people who have experience. We've had people interested in the team, and it's like, yeah, so what competition experience do you have? Have you done any 2v2s? Have you done any custom trio matches? Did you try World Series of Warzone? Any of that? And then kind of like when it comes down to like, yeah, we didn't do any of those. It's like, well, that's not what we're looking for. We
yeah,
want someone that is already in a competing level. We don't
Hmm.
mind putting you like on a side team where we have our guys teach you how to play because that's something that you want to do in the future and get better at the game. We're not kicking you out of
Right.
that. And so we decided to do a side Discord. That's the Warzone community. We have people come in and ask, how can I get better at this game? Can someone do a VOD review and tell me what I can do to improve myself? Just to do that as a community service back to the Warzone community and military members that want to learn and play. Uh, I like to include my top players that I have on my team. I already know my top three, and it's one of those like, hey brother, like I have this person who wants to play. Do you know anything about him? And I was like, go run some games with him. Let me know what you're feeling, and they kind of give me some input. But in the end, it'll be the managers who decide who gets to go to what TDY trip and play in what tournament and who gets to play overall. But we do take the guy's voice into consideration.
Okay.
If they find an issue or something, we have them, let us know what you're thinking, and
Yeah.
we'll discuss it and see what we can do. But in the end, we want to win. We want to be number one when we go play against the other branches and stuff like that.
Got you. How often do you all like actually host like tryouts or like open up applications? Because I know back when I would look on global, the Army email. I apologize for everyone that may not be in the military. I would see the emails come out. Hey, we're looking for players. How many applications do you normally get, like just on the Call of Duty side when that opens up?
So I know for CDL, when they did push it out, they try to do like, I know for CDL is different than us, but when the majors are over and they do a world champ, they recycle their players and then have everyone try out again. And I know for them, they get over 100 applications in because more people want to play CDL. And if they kind of don't make the CDL team, they kind of drift to Warzone and try to say, hey, I want to try out for Warzone.
Yeah.
But for us, when we have we have 10 right now locked in. That way, there's enough opportunity for like if a TDY comes up. These tournaments are normally trio tournaments.
Yeah.
There's really no single ones or duo ones. It's trio, unless they're online.
That's interesting. That out of and this is just you as Army, right? Like for your teams. So you guys pick only around 10 players for your teams.
Yes, for Warzone for us, I don't know what the categories are for the other. For Apex, they might choose 6 or however much, but I leave it enough room where if some of the guys can't go to DY or there's a GTC card issue that someone can't travel, I have backups that can be like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Like my stuff squared away, I want to go.
Yeah.
That's just I just find that very interesting that Call of Duty is such a popular game, right? And extremely popular in the military. That you guys, even though you guys select only 10, there's like a couple hundred, I would say, applications that you guys get submitted when there's how many hundreds of thousands of soldiers out there? Like, do you think that it needs to get advertised more, or that soldiers just don't have the time?
I don't think you get advertised enough. I've gone to places where people are like, there's an Army Esports team.
Yep.
So recently I've created, esports is continuing to grow. We know that it's now leaking into colleges are having esports team. Now high schools are having esports teams. And what I've recently done is I want post teams. So I made Bliss Esports. There's an esports team called Bliss. And then basically they compete and stuff like that. And I'm trying to do this at all the installations so that you can have somewhat of a Commander's Cup tournament. We do it for basketball, softball, football on base. Why can't we do it for esports as well? Where they get to compete against each other. And I'll go out and do boss meetings, which is better opportunity for single soldiers. And we'll put out like, hey, the Army has an esports team. And they're just like, are you serious? For real? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a part of the team. And they'll go back like, no, you're lying. And I'll have to show pictures with my Army Esports jersey on, me going TDY and stuff like that. And that's what I love. Like the TDY opportunities I've been able to go to. And there's ones that I didn't get to go to just because of circumstances. Like they were going to pay for me to go back to my old high school in PR because during Hispanic Heritage Month. So they were going to go over there and just talk about esports in general. I wasn't able to attend that. There was a show. Damn, I forgot what the name was, but it was like a gaming show that talked about different games and stuff like that. I got invited to go to that show as well. I couldn't do it because I was in Germany for a rotation. So someone else got to go. And it's just the opportunities are endless. A lot of people have us on podcasts. They have us at shows just talking about the Army Esports in general. They also have an Army Fit team, which they do CrossFit. It's basically Army CrossFit team. They go out, they compete as well. They're just representing the Army at what they love to do and just, they try to choose the right people for the job as well. Because I know there have been times where they'll send someone who's good on camera that can talk highly of the military and not, say certain things they're not supposed to say or their choice of words or just their vocabulary online isn't that well. So they'll be like, hey, you're a great player, but I don't want you on the camera because you're going to say something terrible and we just don't want you to do that.
So I know for a fact, like by the way, everybody, I'm completely civilian. Never spent a day inside the military. So, from my perspective, looking outside in, I know for a fact that the different branches have incredible bands, have incredible like sports, and like whenever they take the plunge, like there's really great talent inside the branches of the U.S. military. Like there just truly is. A lot of greats have come out of the military into the professional leagues, and vice versa, from professional leagues into the army. Um, do you think that the army just needs to take that plunge, just instead of dipping their toes in the water, seeing if it's warm, just jump in it? Maybe that'll make it so that a lot more soldiers start applying, and this gets just massive scale.
So from where it started and where it's at now, they're in like completely.
yeah.
I'm seeing more competitions, more people showing up. Our guys are going to the CDL events. We're participating in Warzone stuff. Apex is going out and competing at the LAN events that they have. What else? Valorant. They just last week they did a Valorant tournament that they went to. They took second. They lost to Regiment, but it is what it is. So they're involved highly and it's continuing to grow. It is a fight at HRC because I know when it comes to money and like what the army is
Yeah.
investing themselves in, they are trying to like, hey, this is what our guys are doing. This is what our guys are accomplishing. They need the proof behind sending them to this events, showing that this is working, this is getting people involved, and this is, allowing people to join. Because as everyone is here listening to us, they know that the recruiting level has been low.
Yeah.
The army isn't what it used to be. A lot of changes has happened. But at me being an NCO and a leader and being in as long as I have been in, I know that you need to adapt and overcome and understand that with time, change comes and you need to change with that time and make it better for the soldiers who are going to eventually take your spot and be leaders one day. And I have adapted that way and I don't have any issues. I don't have complaints. My soldiers are fine. If they want to get out, I'm not like other NCOs who like, hey, well, you're stuck because you're getting out. No, hey, how can I help you for your future outside the military? What TSP class can I send you to so you have a certification when you get out? Because once you care for the people and the soldiers, that's when they'll be like, you know what, I actually want to stay in because, and it sucks. It's like I have one now. It's like, well, you're not gonna be my NCO forever. No, I'm not. But it lets you know that the army isn't that bad. If you put the right person in the right position, the right leader will make effect and make the unit change, and things will be better.
And I'll say to all those soldiers that are watching this, like, if you think that the military is going to be rough on you, the private sector isn't going to start giving you out candy either. So just really evaluate, like, it's not all black and white. It's not always greener on the other side of the edge. So.
Yeah. And also, kind of
Go
speak
ahead.
to that too. When you were saying like your soldier was saying like, "Hey, like I'm not always gonna have you as an NCO." Like that's the time to let him know too. Hey, be the NCO that I am now to your future soldiers as well. Like that's how we change that culture. And there's a lot of good changes that are happening too. But Luis, like I'll say this flat out, like every time. When I found out about esports, I was already. I say esports. I mean, when I found out about Army Esports, I was already 3 years into my first contract when I like first found out about it, and that was from a different branch. Like they're definitely getting better at it. There is still a lot of adjustments.
Great growth, definitely.
But I think that they're like that. You all are on the right path too. Like I see a lot of really good things that are coming out of it. I mean, even doing the 1v1 challenges at Comic-Con, you and your team are doing a phenomenal job just making engagement and talking with people. I mean, I saw a lot of people that were really interested. We were out there walking and we go, wait a minute, Army has an esports team? Like, yeah, they're playing Call of Duty over in this room. They would come running over and they were like, dude, like this is the greatest thing ever. Like I want to do this when I can join the army. It's like bam, there you go. Like right there. I mean, we had probably 6 or 7 dudes that were just in there talking that wanted to join just because the army had an esports roster. Like, it's good stuff to
that
push.
was 2 days of an event. Really, because the first day we were just setting up. But in those 2 days that we were fully set up and we were doing those 1v1s, the amount of people that just found out about Army Esports that were super interested, like it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. So I also want to get into Fort Bliss Esports. So for everybody that's listening right now, Deja has been really instrumental in growing a community in Fort Bliss for esports. He has his own Discord that he's running right now, getting a lot of soldiers in there. I just want to kind of get into like what is the point of this group and this community that you're building, What's the hope going forward? And like talk about some of the events that you've been hosting as well, because I mean that Discord has been incredibly active.
Yeah, so I mean, esports is a part of me now. Ever since I joined the Army Esports, I've been part of that. Uh, I just realized this was here, but this right here, this was given to only 100 Army Esports members. So Camacho, he was one of the starters of the Army Esports team, and he made 100. He only gave it to the top 100 that put time, dedication, and influencing the change for Army Esports. So I always have that up there to remind me where I started and where I'm at, and that's why I was like, hey, does Bliss doing any tournaments or anything? Obviously, the first place I went to was the Warrior Zone, because prior to Bliss, I was in JBLM, and JBLM had the Warrior Zone was popping. They were doing tournaments. I was showing up, playing over there, winning free cash. I mean, basically, it's a $25 gift card, $50, 100, depending what place you come in.
Yeah.
But there was always it gives something soldiers to do. Yes, they game in their room, but this is a way for them to get out of their room and come to the Warrior Zone where there's food, there's pool table, there's other people, there's human beings they can talk to. You don't ever know if someone's going through a hard time, and them just going out there competing and being good at it, and people they're like, yo, you're good, man, keep it up. That could be a reason for them being like, my life isn't that bad.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm actually good at this. Like I
Yeah.
want to keep doing this. So that's why I wanted to make, the Discord, the Bliss team, get all the gamers I can in there, and then start hosting stuff at the Warrior Zone. Because at the same time, the Warrior Zone wasn't getting a lot of traffic. There's still people today that don't know what the Warrior is in, where it's at,
Yep.
and what it consists of. Recently, we've added Tour de Bliss, which is something the Boss program does.
Yep.
For those that don't know what Boss is, better opportunity for single soldiers. I also help them as well. And basically on Wednesdays, they go around posts showing all the newcomers to posts, all the new soldiers we get. They get on a bus, they go around posts, looking at all the spots. And the last place they stop is at the Warrior Zone. And they get to see the systems, the computers, the food, the pool tables, what they have to offer there. So they have a place to hang out. And then through that, that's where I've been, I started off with uh Warzone tournament, which that was the most I've had. Had about 26 people show up for that Warzone tournament.
Nice.
I did a Mario Kart tournament, had about 12 for that one. Mortal Kombat tournament, it was like about 8. But right now, what we need is just promotion and getting it out.
Yeah.
I have to go through MWR. They want stuff 7 weeks out. They want dates 7 weeks out so that they can make flyers and post them. It's a little bit harder for me because I have rules to follow where I can make a poster in one day and spread it out through them. You have to do it 7 weeks out. You have to do it the way they want it, their format, and then it gets pushed out that way. And I feel like that's why we're still lacking on people knowing that there is a Warrior Zone, there is a place that they can go game and stuff like that. And the better thing is it's free. You get to come play this. Some people just don't have the opportunity or the money to have a PS5 in their room or an Xbox or a computer. You can come here and you can play for free. They're not charging you. And yeah, you can have a good time and meet other people. My goal with the team is that I will hope that it spreads and other installations start to do the same thing. So now like JBLM is on board now, and they're making their little team together over there. That, for example, I also hosted a Smash Brothers tournament. That was a good turnaround, about 12. And I would do is like my top 4 could play online against their top 4. They host their tournament, I host my tournament, and now they go against each other and we crown someone, the number 1 player against Fort Bliss and JBLM. But if we could start getting all the other installations to do the same, because they all have Warrior Zones, most of them do, or at least an MWR section that has some gaming capabilities. Now everyone, then it could get big where they do a giant all Army esports competition, and everyone sends their own respective teams from their post to compete against each other somewhere to crown someone this year's number 1 installation esports team. I'm like, that would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
That is
MWR is getting
great.
on board as well. So kind of MWR, the new director, kind of went to an esports event and he was all about it. And now he's trying to get down involved. They're trying to do an event at the end of the year as well, to do a big competition so people can come out and compete. And this will be open to single soldiers, married. We have married people who play at home all the time as well. So it gives them a chance to show their wives, hey, like the time dedication I put in, look, I won this at the tournament.
So I want to bring it back to what you said at the beginning, which was that these LAN centers offer an opportunity to socialize for
Yeah.
camaraderie, right?
Mhm.
And it's not just for soldiers who are locked in their room all day, but also to you parents who have kids that are locked up in the house all day playing games on their computer or on their console, and you want to see them, see the sunlight or touch some grass or meet other people. There are these LAN centers that are opening up across the United States, and bringing your kids to that is a great way for the kids to meet other kids with similar interests, right? And to also like expand their wealth of knowledge when it comes to gaming and your own.
Yeah.
So consider that El Paso itself is opening the Damascus Gaming LAN Center in the shops at Solana. If you're in Fort Bliss, which by the way, to those who don't know, Fort Bliss is like a small city in and of itself. It has its
Yeah.
own shopping center. It has its own movie theater. It has like 20 churches. It is massive. So just driving across the post takes you what, like half an hour to maybe 45 minutes,
Yeah,
depending.
it's a
Like,
huge post, and that's
yeah,
man, by the way, that's just Garrison. It's not even including like all the ranges that go on for
hmm
miles into New Mexico.
exactly. So when people say like, "Hey, I don't know about the Warrior Zone," it's because that's one building inside a
Yeah,
city that people just haven't been aware of because they're on the other side of the post, on the other side of the city, pretty much just being like, "Where is this?"
yeah,
So
and that
just to explain a little bit about that, yeah.
yeah, and that too also to say, like, obviously we are opening up a land center. This isn't just like a pitch for us to say, hey, come to El Paso. Obviously we want you all to come check the thing out. But what I will also say that too is no matter where you are in the country, land centers offer a phenomenal place for people to get together in
hmm
the community. It's more than just a spot to come play esport titles. Like you can come play whatever you want to play. Like they have tabletop. You can play Mario Kart. Like it's. I mean, there's so many different options, and you can meet so many great people. Like it's really a great central location for a gaming community to get together and make a lot of great memories and make new friends. And that's really also too like what DG is trying to do when it comes to El Paso. We always say like
Yep.
we are like El Paso Esports. Fort Bliss is part of El Paso. Like I mean,
Yep.
like it is like one and the same. Like El Paso is honestly like a very very large military town. I think
Yep.
we've got what 40,000 people. I want to say right now is like the number that I mean for people that come onto the like post like every single day. Like it is a thriving ecosystem, and to finally see esports because I got here. I was stationed at Fort Bliss towards the middle of 2021. And there was no talks of esports anywhere. And now, like we're getting to this point where esports is becoming a very serious conversation. We're seeing a lot more events happening. And honestly, Deja, that's a lot to do with what you've been pushing. Because I have people all the time, they email and ask me, hey, I really want to come play for Damascus Gaming. I'm like, dude, that's great. Like, tell me about yourself. And they'll mention, I just got stationed here. I just finished AIT. I just finished OSET. I'm brand new to Fort Bliss. My first thing is, have you checked out the Bliss Esports community? Like, no, I haven't, dude. Go join this Discord. Like, this is where you need to get involved because it's a massive thing. Obviously, we love having people that want to come join and play for Damascus Gaming, but we're such an exclusive group when it comes to who like performs in like on our esport teams. I mean, just to keep this in mind, we have over 700, I think 80 people right now in our Discord. Out of that entire group, we only have 6 players, and they
And
are
that's just one of our
literally
servers.
yeah, and that's literally rated like top players in the world in their respective games. So it's not easy to come play for Damascus Gaming. We appreciate the interest, but there's a lot of growth that needs to happen to get to that level. But that's not to say you can't get involved in different areas. And one of those, by the way, is Bliss Esports. So if you're on Fort Bliss, you want to get involved in esports, you need to go talk to Deja. He is definitely the guy. And he'll
Oh
show
yeah.
you how to grow up right. Like that's the thing. They are dedicated to growing their esports. So it's good
100%.
stuff. But
Another thing I wanted to tackle was also data. You mentioned earlier how you streaming gave you more confidence. It showed you more showmanship and how to communicate better with others because you said that you were a shy guy as a kid. Um, so I wanted to kind of like dissect that a little bit because I've seen this trend with some personal friends of mine and coworkers who got into streaming at first being like, they don't feel good about it. They feel kind of like it's weird.
Yeah.
But once they got into it, just a month later, you would see the returns on their investment double because their confidence would grow.
Yeah.
Right. So how was that experience for you?
Yeah, so at first it was just like, I'm talking to the camera, I'm talking while I'm playing. It's like, what's the best way? Because there's everyone has their own way of streaming. Some people are their natural selves, other people are extra. People dress up, yell, scream, and it's just like I'm not a screaming, yelling person. Like, oh my god, this and that. I'm just normal. My
Only
my
sometimes, right?
forte, it just depends what type of night or if I was drinking when I got in the game.
What's
But
up, brother?
what I like to do, yeah, I talk a lot of smack on the game when I'm playing and stuff like that, and I have a lot of clips that I like to put together and
Yeah.
kind of post that stuff. I'm working on my TikTok so I can start streaming on TikTok as well.
Let's go.
But it did help me towards being an instructor. Being an instructor helped me be a better streamer as well, because I had to teach, instruct, get in front of people for 3 years. I was doing that, and at the same time, I was also streaming in the background, so that helped me a lot as well. It's one of those things that I want to grow my channel because a lot of times if no one is there saying anything, I don't really have anything to say. If I'm playing by myself, I kind of go over why I did what I did in the game. Like, why did I take the height? Why did I attack him from this direction? Why did I change this? Why did I get in this vehicle? Kind of like game by play of how I play so people can get better while they watch the stream as well. And I can also speak Spanish. So sometimes I do speak Spanish in my stream so that they can understand if there's someone, because a lot of my servers have people from Mexico, San Juan, Dominican Republic, Honduras, and it's just like, okay, cool, I'll talk to you in Spanish and stuff like that. Or I start talking English, and then they'll be like, pinche gringo, and I start making fun of me, and then I'll be like, yo puedo hablar en español también, and they're like, oh, snaps, you can speak Spanish.
Oh yeah.
So
Forget that Puerto Ricans come in all colors and shapes.
and then it's just after a while, just practicing, just like the whole streaming stuff. Like I didn't know anything about computers. I didn't know anything about Streamlabs OBS, the setup, the camera, the templates, the filters for the mic, nothing. I had to research all this by myself because I wanted to get into it. I wanted to do it. I watched other streamers and I was like, well, I want to do that as well. No, I'm not a top known streamer. People don't know me. Maybe in the future, people might know me as I start to transition more because I do have kids to take care of. I can't make this a full-time job. When I get out of the military, I would love to do some of this and something else at the same time when I retire and stuff like that. But for now, I try to help other people grow. I had a friend who ran an organization. His name's Corrupt Red. And then he always asking me, hey, how do I get my camera to work? How do I do this overlay? And I kept teaching him. And now like he's getting 50 to 70 viewers on stream. He has transitioned to being a streamer. He can't do it full time, but he's continuing to grow. He's doing new games. And I'm just like, he's always, every time he sees me pop up, he's like, this is the guy that got me where I'm at now. He helped me. And I'm just thankful that at least someone else was able to grow and get their numbers up and stuff like that.
Yep. So one of the last things that I kind of want to cover, and it's just like out of curiosity, because I know you've done now like the esports and the streaming thing. Mm-hmm. How important do you think content creation is for esport players? Is it important for them as for like their own brands? Do you think it's important for organizations to go after people that have like the component of esports and streaming? Like, what's your take on that?
I think it just depends on the individual themselves. If they're just focused on winning and stuff like that, and that's all they want to do is game, because you'll have people who, yes, they will stream, but their focus is on the tournament, the competition, whatever they're doing right now. So you making comments and posts will probably be the last thing they see. So some people want an individual that can play the game and also converse with you while you're playing, so it feels like you're in the game there as well. And that's something that I work on, and people said they like that about me, that I'm able to play the game, but at the same time I'm also responding and answering questions then to someone who's focused on the game. Now for me to be a content creator, then yes, it's important to go back and make clips and post stuff, that way you can get out there and get more people to follow you and come see you stream and stuff like that. As a professional player, you're already making money by just winning the tournaments. They do content creation on the side on like, hey, these are the weapons I use. These are the settings I use. And then through that, their channels explode and blow up because everyone's going like, he's the best in the game. I want his settings. I want the game. So they take that avenue approach. And then there's people that do both. They are professional player and they do those kind of posts, but they also do funny stuff on the side where they take time to, make funny videos with people they play with and stuff like that.
Awesome.
I would say people need to remember that only the top 0.1% of gamers will reach that epitome of like you're so good at the game that you don't need charisma to be successful. But for everybody else, don't ignore charisma, don't ignore personality. Part of being successful when it comes to entertainment, and this is a world of entertainment, really, is to be able to connect with other people. And the best way to do that is through either similar stories, right, coming from the same background, or by just clicking with people. And the only way you do that is with your charisma.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think too, like Deja did bring up a really good point too. Like the professionals, that take the time to put some content out, being like, "Hey, like this is the current meta that I'm using in Warzone. Like you need to use this weapon with like these attachments." I think the important thing for people to realize is that content comes in multiple different forms. Some people they may not be the best streamer. They may be a phenomenal player, but they just don't do well in front of the camera, and that's okay. But I still think that being able to go out and produce content, because you have to understand it's not just bringing value to your organization, it's also bringing value to your individual brand. You have to like think about the fact that esports, the life cycle of a player is not as long as traditional sports because we have so many new players constantly exploding onto the scene. The chances of you staying on top, for an extended period of time is not as high as it would be for traditional sports. So being able to market yourself out and make a brand to where if you are no longer able to compete at the highest levels, you still have people watching you. That's a really good way to go about, making yourself a good stream of revenue and then also keeping yourself also relevant in the space. So I would say, like definitely keep that in mind. Streaming is not the only side of content. There are other ways, like they just said, like you can make little videos that talk about, hey, this works, this doesn't, talk about different things. It's all really good stuff. Man, we've already been going for close to an hour. Time flies, we're having fun. I
Yep.
want to finish this out with one last thing.
I have one last thing to say as
Oh,
well.
you know what? I will let you take it then for a moment.
So you were talking about representing the organization. That's something
Yes.
that's very important to me. I used to be, I wouldn't say co-owner, but I was helping another
Yeah.
organization grow as well. And there's something that I see that lacks in the Army Esports, which is, uh, you know, I am a player of the Army Esports team. If they're posting stuff for other players or yourself, you should be retweeting, you should be commenting, you should be posting their stuff because that will come back full circle to you because it's representing the org that you should be proud of.
Yep.
So the fact that we got over 500 players and I only see 2 likes or 3 retweets, it's like, come on, like
Yep.
go follow Army Sports, and then for you as well for Damascus Gaming, we have so many people that are part of Damascus, and I feel like always see the same people retweeting or liking
Yep.
the posts that you guys make, and we need to get more involvement in the community. If you want to represent Damascus, like you also need to do your part in retweeting and putting this information out because that's how we grow as a community. That's how we grow the brand, and that's how it gets out to everyone. So it's very important to do that kind of stuff as well.
Agreed. No, definitely agree
Agreed.
with that. Yeah, no, 100%. That's one of the biggest things. Like, I love, being able to communicate with people actually as well, like on social media. And I love seeing like the engagement because it also lets, us know as well what content people are looking for. Like, if people are engaging with the content and coming back and saying, hey, I like this content. Maybe I'm not like the biggest fan of this content, but they're like getting it out there so people can see it. It lets us hone in on what people actually want to see so that we can make more of what everyone enjoys. And the only way that happens is through more engagement with it. So what I wanted to get at the end of this, I like asking a few questions, outside of the scope of esports. I did the same thing with gamblers. So
Okay.
my first thing that I want to ask you is, what is your favorite event you have ever been to, gaming wise? It can be an esports tournament. It can be, a convention. It, may not even be Army Esports related, but just what was your favorite event that you went to?
I would have to say last year's Cold War in LA because
Global.
the hotel was amazing. And it was just able to see, the people I watched, Shifty, Biffle, Courage JD was there because they wanted him to play Modern Warfare 3. That's someone I used to watch
Nice.
all the time, and I got to take a picture with him. Hisoka was there, got to take a picture with him. Scumpy had showed up; they had invited him as well.
That's
It was my favorite because I saw a lot of the content creators that I watched and learned how to play were all there. So we got to hang out, drink together, eat together, just like to see who they really are outside the game. it's like, okay, cool, you're a cool guy, or like, oh, you're
Yeah.
fake. I knew you were fake, you know. And so it's just one of those, like,
Yeah.
it was just a great event. The
Yeah.
one before that, it wasn't that good because the individuals that were our teammates, like we had
Yeah.
Aiden as a teammate, but Aiden was playing from his house. Like the first couple I went to, a lot of the people didn't come to the event. They were
Oh,
just
wow.
playing from their houses. There
Yeah.
was maybe 7, 10, 12 content creators that did come to the actual
Wow.
event. That was there. Like Huskers came. Yeah, Huskers came. Iceman Isaac was there. Swag came, but then there was other people that just played from their house. This one last year, everyone showed up because
That's
they
cool.
lined it up with the release of the game. Who wouldn't want to come to the release of
Yeah.
the game? So
Yeah.
that was more beneficial. And then, like I said, maybe this one this year will be even better because that's what I'm being told, that it's going to be even better, and
Yeah.
the content creator is going to come to this and stuff like that.
That's awesome. No, I'm a big fan of going to events. That's why I like to ask sometimes too, like when I get the chance.
Yeah.
Because I just when you get everybody together, like it's one thing when you're hanging out online talking or watching somebody on their stream, but being there and actually like meeting them in person, being able to talk. When I was at DreamHack, I was able to sit down for like a few seconds and see Big Rob. He makes shorts on YouTube. Actually, pretends to be an Activision executive, which always cracks me up. But seeing him there and walking him in, like saying like, "Hey man, what's up?" And the way that he engaged back with me, I was like, "Dude, like he's a real dude. Like he's not just like a face behind a screen." Those moments are really really cool. So I love going to events, and actually, Luis and I and Gambler will actually be at Evo this weekend. So we'll be up in Vegas watching all of the fighting game community come together. I'm excited to see all that happen. Second question I got for you: what is your favorite video game you have ever played across consoles generation? Doesn't matter. Like, what is the one game you look back on as like this is the GOAT? I could play this all the time, no issues.
I used to like playing Spyro, the dragon one.
Spyro. Okay,
Yeah.
I like
I
it.
was like, I would just play that one, and then Crash Bandicoot
Let's
used to be
go.
another one that I used to play all the
A
time.
classic.
Yeah.
Classic. Yeah, that
Yeah.
I remember when I first got Spyro, and I was like, "This is the coolest game ever," just because you could just go wherever you wanted to and just explore and have a good time. Like, even though I guess for me, like, because I was younger, it was like just having so much space to explore. It just felt like the worlds were endless. But obviously now I go back and play it, and I'm like, man, it wasn't as big as I thought it was. But no, Spyro
Yeah.
was a phenomenal game. So sweet. Well, Deja, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast, spending some time to kind of talk about everything. For everyone watching, where can they find you?
So right now I'm on Kick. I stream on there. It's Dejax, Dejax, and then I'm also back on Twitch, and that's just Deja Papi.
Okay, sounds like a plan. We'll be posting those links and also the link to the Fort Bliss Esports Discord in the comments below. So make sure if you want to get into contact with Deja, join the Fort Bliss Esports server, and then also get in on his content. Make sure you go check all that stuff out. Deja is always live, absolutely destroying people on Warzone. He has some of the greatest trash talking moments. If you saw the "What's Up, Brother" clip that I posted, that was Deja. So trust me, you want to be a part of those streams. It is a lot of fun being in those. But everyone, that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much, as always, for supporting Damascus Gaming and giving us your time listening to the podcast episode. We will be back next week at the same time on Wednesday. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And as always, we'll see you next time.